review of Los Cabos. Nobody is more sad than me because I have a home in Los Cabos and I was hoping to be able to go home for the day tomorrow, check on my place, do some laundry, you know, all the usual things. But it didn't happen. What I'm going to do today for the next about 40 minutes is take you through a little bit of the history of Los Cabos, the way it's developed, look at some of the classic Los Cabos resorts, and then we'll finish off with a little tour of a little mining town called El Triunfo. I got my taste of Los Cabos because my dad, who was a very frugal Englishman, decided at some point to buy a timeshare. And I couldn't understand why he would buy a timeshare, but he did. Put down $18,000 or something like that. And then he actually gifted it to me, so now I have to pay the annual fees and all that kind of stuff for the timeshare. However, the advantage of it was that one of the places was actually in Los Cabos. So Nikki and I, we used to go to Los Cabos with our boys regularly. And then during COVID, we were down there because we were all working remote. And Mexico was basically open. And so we decided to buy a place in Los Cabos, thanks to my dad not being frugal on a timeshare. So, let's have a look at Los Cabos. That's the old Los Cabos from the 1950s. We're going to take a journey today from where it was probably. We'll go back a few thousand years and then we'll look at it today. One of the things to note, here's El Arco. This was the beach that Richard showed you this morning, Playa Medino. That was the beach with all of the hotels on it. And you'll notice that there's nothing here. There's no entrance to the marina. The marina was built a little bit later. But let's have a quick look at the history of the place. The indigenous people were broken out through Baja California and Baja California Sur. The ones that we're going to be looking at today, a little bit of the Pericu. The Pericu were discovered, well, they have been here, we think they've been here between about 10,000 years and 14,000 years ago. They came from the Great Migration down the coast. Cabrillo, who we talked about when we were in Los Angeles, he was the person who first contacted the Tongva people in Los Angeles when we were doing the talking before we went to Los Angeles. He came here in 1542 and encountered the Pericu people. And the Pericu people, they called them the Pericu because that's the Portuguese word for parakeet. And they were speaking a language that was totally different from the other groups up here, and it was very fast with a different accent, so the Spanish called them the parakeets, which I think is a little derogatory, but that's where they got their name. The Pericu people themselves, there's very little known about them. It's a mysterious group of people. There's one or two early sketches and early drawings related to the Pericus. At the time when Cabrillo encountered them, they were living in a sustainable way at the tip of the Baja. I think they got that far and they couldn't get any further, but they were living there. They were living primarily from seafood and from hunting and gathering on the interior. There was no agriculture. There was no agricultural development, but they had fixed settlements in the area. And there's been some cave paintings found. And this is it's an artist's rendering of a cave painting from the time. And I think it looks, to me, a little bit like an Australian Aboriginal painting, or from that part of the Pacific. And there was a thought at one time that the Pericus had come from that part of the Pacific and they came across. There were various studies completed on skulls and skull morphology and all this kind of stuff, but that science is a little bit iffy. There was a conclusion that they'd come across the Pacific and not down the coast from the north, across the Siberian land bridge. However, a most recent study that was published actually in 2025 looked at the genetics of the Perique from some of the remains that were left, and they found that it was part of the first migration that occurred about 15,000 years ago, coming down the coast. So the skull testing was flawed. The Periques were the local people, and unfortunately, they have now disappeared. Ancient drawing of the El Arco. Things have changed a little bit since then. In the 1500s, Cabo San Lucas was a famous place for the English to try and ambush the Spanish galleons that were coming across the Pacific. So the Spanish had established a trading route in the 1500s across from the Philippines and that area. They'd come across to North America and they'd come down the coast and then they'd sail back across to the Philippines. And this was an area where Sir Francis Drake and Thomas Cavendish would lie in wait. And one of the biggest galleons that they got was a 700-ton thing called Santa Ana that was sacked and sunk just off Medano Beach. We looked at Medano Beach a little bit this morning, and it's right in front of a hotel that's the Hotel Hacienda right now. So looking a little bit as we move forward from the 1500s through the 1600s and into the 1700s, in about 1690, the various missions started to be established down the Baja, similar to the ones that I talked about earlier in Los Angeles. The missions were different. The Jesuit missions were along the bottom here, the Franciscan here, and then the Dominicans up on the top. And the Jesuits established about 17 missions all the way down, and Loreto, right here, was where the first mission was established in 1697. So they built all these missions, and the missions had a very different way of working. They had a particular way of working with the native people. They had something called the mission system, which was aimed at controlling the local people in the land that the Spanish had taken over. The people before the missions had been hunter-gatherers and that sort of thing, but they centralized the people around the mission. They established agriculture, and then the people then became reliant upon the agriculture in the area. And that was a little bit of a controversial piece. So the people had gone from working with the seasons and all of that kind of stuff to then being actually agriculturalists, even though they were not trained in that. And therefore they were completely reliant on the missions, and the missions had labor that they could use. And this is the mission in San Jose del Cabo. This was established in Perique, the native people's village called Anuiti in 1730 by a guy called Nicolas Tamaret. And this established, in 1730, it established the presence of Europeans in the Los Cabos area forever. Well, not forever, but as far as we know for today. Unfortunately, as in California, the establishment of the missions also came with a dramatic decline in the indigenous people of the area, with diseases, etc. And these missions, all the missions up and down the Baja, because of this decline in the native people who were living there, they'd lost their source of labor, and they actually eliminated this thing, the mission system, where they brought everybody in to work, and they eliminated that, and that was in about 1800. So the Jesuits were expelled from this particular mission in 1767. But unfortunately, at the time, the Perique people had essentially disappeared. They'd lost all their culture, they'd lost their language, and the Periques are no more. So when we, if we ever get the chance to go to Los Cabos, we would be walking on something that was first from the Paracu people, and now they just disappeared completely. There's a little bit of information available in the local museums, but essentially it's a big vacuum, and it's a sad loss for the area. Jumping forward to the mid-1950s, early 1950, 1952, this is what Cabo San Lucas looked like. Nothing like the photographs we did before. You can see here, there's a church. The streets aren't paved. You can see the mountains in the background and a few rudimentary houses. There was no way to get there. There was no road. There was a track that went all the way the 1,100 miles down the peninsula, and it would take several weeks if you wanted to drive down there. The only way you could get to Los Cabos at the time was to fly in or to bring your boat. There was no international airport, and there was probably a population of 200 to 300 people. If we look today at that 200 to 300 people, they were dependent upon Compañía de Productos Marinos, CA. And today, this is all that's left of the cannery that was built in about 1927. It's still there. It's at the back of what they call Playa Empacadero, which is Canning Beach, and it's the Packers Beach, and that's that little beach. It's a little beach just off the tip of the peninsula, and it's where the locals go to relax and enjoy things. The whole thing, this was working up until about 1962. The whole thing formerly looked like this. Here's the packing plant, and here's the wharf where the people would bring in and they'd ship out from here. And this was also where supplies would be delivered from the mainland, what they call the mainland, which is over on the other side of the Gulf of California. This was established in 1927, and at one time it was producing about 75% of Mexico's total seafood output, which is phenomenal when you think of a little place like that. It was before they built the cannery here, there was a four-masted sailing ship that sat out in the bay, and they canned actually on that sailing ship. Where the cruise ships anchor today, that's where it was. So the cannery was the start, but this ridge and the area and the beach is what came later. So if we look at San Jose del Cabo, this is different from Cabo San Lucas. Cabo San Lucas is at the tip where the arch is. San Jose del Cabo is a little bit inland. It's about a 45-minute drive to an hour drive inland along the coast. And it was an agricultural area. It wasn't dependent on tourists. It wasn't dependent on anything. It was just an agricultural development. In the 1950s, a gentleman called Mr. Wong started the Hotel California. And here's the Hotel California, and it's actually in a place called Todos Santos, which is about an hour's drive north of Los Cabos. It's not the Hotel California if you listen to the Eagles, but it's very similar, and the Eagles actually tried to sue him, even though he built the Hotel California in 1950. So anyway, more recently, actually, last year, this was for sale for about $7 million. So anybody who's got a little bit of spare pocket change and wants a piece of history, you could buy the Hotel California. In the 1950s, population was about 60,000, and in 1952, the southern half of Baja California became Baja California Sur. So we have California, Baja California, and then Baja California Sur. My wife always wanted to live in California, so I said, okay, Baja California is close enough for us. The development of Los Cabos, and as you can see here, this is like a few cars are in here, so they must have been either brought in by ship or come down the winding track to go. But the development, there were a few visionaries who saw the possibility of Los Cabos and the area, particularly with great fishing and with great beaches and beautiful weather most of the time, except for the next 3 days. Honestly, we go down to our place here, and we'll be down there for 3 months, and it'll rain for half a day, and it's just beautiful weather for the rest of the time. Anyway, a couple of people, they decided that this was an opportunity, and they decided to start buying up little bits of land, and they bought up little territories, and it was really then became a star's paradise, a rich person's paradise in the 50s. Private planes were flown in to this area, and they used to fly in, and it was in John Wayne, Bing Crosby. They used to fly their airplanes into here, or John Wayne had his big ship that he used to bring in. And they had a sport fishing craze in the 50s and 60s due to the prolific sport fishing that was there. It was actually known as Marlin Alley in the time, which led to the construction of some of these beautiful old hotels that I'll show you right now. So the first resort in the whole area was called Rancho Las Cruces, and it was a fly-in fishing lodge. You can see it here, it's beautiful. It still exists today, and you can still go there if you've got a spare $800 to $1,000 a night. It's lovely, so I'm told, and it still has an airstrip. Visitors to this included ex-president or former President Eisenhower, Desi Arnaz, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby. They came in here, and they went fishing, and the whole place had developed this jet set feeling that we'll hear about in Acapulco as well in the 60s. But the 50s and 60s was fishing, it was outdoors, it was getting yourself there. And the same group of people built several hotels. And this is the backside of if you went right over here, you'd find the packing plant. This is called Sol Mar. This is the original resort. This is the first resort that was properly built in Los Cabos, in Cabo San Lucas, right down at the tip. And this is what it looks like today. This is the same area of the resort right there. Okay? So they took down that little building, and they built this beautiful, now right on the Pacific Ocean. But as Richard mentioned this morning, it's a little bit dangerous to swim in the ocean here. If you want to swim, you still have to go over to the beaches on the inside. These pioneers saw the opportunity, and they built 6 hotels in the area. 6 hotels that still are operating today. They built the Rancho Las Cruces, which was the first one. They built Hotel Palmilla in Cabo San Lucas, the Hacienda, Finistra, and Sol Mar, this one, in Cabo San Lucas. The one that I really like is this one. This is a 1950s view of a hotel called Palmilla, which is now the one and only resort in San Jose del Cabo. You can see that it has its own airstrip right here, right? So they bring people in. This is the original buildings, 2 of the original buildings. It's a beautiful place. It's changed a little bit. My favorite beach to go to is actually right here. And you can still get to that beach. It's available to the public as part of the development. This is now a 27-hole golf course. They've changed that. And this is the haunt of celebrities. And you need a little bit more money to go there than you did to the Las Cruces Hotel. And this is what it looks like today. It's absolutely stunning. But you can see, here's that original building. Right on the coast. It's a beautiful coast. And the snorkeling and swimming off there is absolutely fabulous. Where we go is around the corner on this particular place here. So it's about 900 acres of land. It's got bougainvillea, it's got bamboo, it's a gorgeous location and well worth a visit. And from the Jack Nicklaus golf course, you can see the ocean from almost every hole. So I'm told. I'm not a golfer. I'm not old enough yet. So then they went off and built this next hotel, which is Punta Pescadero, which means Fisherman's Point. This is on the east coast of the Cape. If you go on the inside and you keep going up a little bit, there's a place called Los Barriles. It's a beautiful location. Stayed up in Los Barriles quite a bit. Have never stayed there, but I'm intending to do so. And this was established in about 1968, so we're getting a little bit later. You can see now it has tennis courts, it has all kinds of things. But it's got about, I think it's 21 rooms. It's all air conditioned, it's absolutely stunning, it's a lovely place to stay. And what I'm trying to do is give you an idea here of, we're not getting the original piece of Los Cabos was not these multi-story massive hotels with everything the same in a room that's got an air conditioner, a television, and whatever you want. You can watch football on a Sunday. You know, this is what it was. It was a getaway, it was quiet. You could fish, you could read, you could swim, you could do whatever you wanted. And that's still available today. You don't have to stay at the Holiday Inn in downtown Los Cabos. Fortunately, those hotels have all endured through today. So, but let's have a look now. We've looked at the kind of the origins of it, but let's have a look now about what really changed everything. It was this, a trans-peninsula highway. Before, it used to take you several weeks to drive down here, and you can see the trans-peninsula as it winds its way down from one side to the other. And it was opened in 1974. That allowed tourists, it allowed other people to drive all the way down to the tip of the Baja and stop off at these beautiful places on the way down. Not only that, it also allowed supplies and freight to come down the Baja rather than have to be brought in by sea, as it was before. Because if you remember I mentioned that the supply ship came into the tip. Now you can get trucking all the way down. So now it's not just the wealthy people with their own airplanes, right? It's people who can drive there. Well, originally it was a lot of Volkswagen buses and broken down old cars that came down and established the surfing area in the tip here, and later came the airport and the tourist hotels. So this is what the road looks like. I can attest to that. I've driven it. It's a fantastic drive. It's beautiful. You go through desert areas and then you'll come around a corner and you'll see this beautiful open ocean as you come by. It's absolutely lovely. I drove my car down. It was full of all my junk that I wanted to put in the house. And this trickle of visitors that came down suddenly became a torrent, and that led in the 70s and 80s to the initial development of Los Cabos. At the time, the Mexican government saw the potential, and they developed an agency called Fonatur. And Fonatur is a fund for developing tourist businesses. And the government then created a master plan for Los Cabos, which is the Los Cabos that you see developing now. I think there's a few things that need to be changed, and certainly things that need to be addressed when you go from 14,000 people to 300,000 people in a very short period of time. You have to do things like upgrade the road system, upgrade the electricity system. The nice thing about the road also crosses the Tropic of Cancer, and you can have this little stop on the side of the road with a globe that's there, and you can stop in and take a few photographs. There's a little shrine there to thank people that you've actually got thankful that you've got that far down the road, and there's a little tourist shop as well. So that's very nice. One of the hazards of driving down the Baja, though, is this, topis. These things appear everywhere, and they appear just out of the blue. Mostly at towns or villages or stops and that sort of thing. But you never know when you're going to find one, and it's really interesting when you're driving at night because you have to be looking all the way down, not only for the cows, but you have to be looking for the topis as well. So just be careful if you happen to be driving around in the Los Cabos area. You'll find these, and you'll find them everywhere. So Los Cabos Marina, if we remember the photograph that I showed you of the little packing plant. The packing plant was somewhere just out here. There was no hole in there for the marina. The marina was actually dredged 1974, 1975. It took out the landing strip, it took out everything, and they built the marina, which resulted in combination with the road, they suspended the ferry service from Puerto Vallarta. The Puerto Vallarta ferry service used to bring supplies into here, and now the ferry service goes across to La Paz, which is a town a little bit further to the north. So from that early development, where to me it was, if you build it, will they come? And if you build it, will they come? I think that really answers it very nicely, okay? The one thing, again, that I want you to look at is this little packing plant, which is still here. That's still the packing plant, and it's still the original building, and they haven't taken it down yet. So Cabos Marina was dredged. This is the local beach, the one that you can get off, that Richard said when you get off this, you just walk around here. It's about 15 minutes to get to that little beach. And this is what it actually looks like now. Great big buildings, beautiful boardwalk, lots of fantastic restaurants. It's a real pleasure to be able to go there. So did they think that one marina was sufficient? No, we remember that we've got Cabo San Lucas, which is at the tip, and then we've got San José del Cabo, which is a more genteel, more relaxed area. I'll show you that in a little bit later. But they decided that in the late 90s that they were going to build, another marina, and this is the Puerto Los Cabos. It's up way down here is Cabo San Lucas. San José del Cabo is just in here, and they built this new marina up the coast, which is part of a massive development of houses and golf courses, etc. in the early 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s. And the marina opened in 2007, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And there is still, which is really interesting, in this particular case, there is still a fishing fleet, a local fishing fleet that goes out every day to fish, and you can still buy fish directly off the dock in this marina, and it's fabulous. It's so fresh. Obviously it comes straight out of the dock, and that's what it looks like today. You've got Cabo San Lucas in the background. The airport is up here, a little ways in that valley, and this is Puerto Los Cabos. It's a beautiful place. So then what happened was, between Cabo San Lucas, which is here, this is El Arco, and the San José del Cabo, there was this corridor developed, and they put a road in, which is way too small now, but it's very busy. And they started to develop this thing called the tourist corridor. And you can see here, one of the key things for the tourist corridor, not only is beautiful resorts and beautiful housing complexes right on the water, on the points all the way along, but they decided that they would put in a lot of golf courses. So you can see a golf course here, another golf course here, part of a golf course here, and there's 4 or 5 behind me as well. So it was a unique opportunity to develop this, and it was enhanced by the construction and expansion of the Cabo San Lucas Airport in 1977. It was expanded. They're building new parts to the terminal. We've been going to Cabo San Lucas for about the past 12 years. Every year they're expanding the airport. And I counted 32 jets from the US in there at one time. 32. All of them chucking out 150 people. So it's a really fantastic place. You've got first-class golf courses, you've got resorts like the Sheraton and the Westin. It's changed the corridor a bit. Access to the corridor is good. There's a bypass road up here. It's been really quite well developed. And that 30 kilometers of beach now is very, very sought after. So you've got beaches and resorts all the way along. You've got access. And one of the beautiful things about Mexico is that all the beaches are public. You cannot have a private beach in Mexico. You can make it difficult to access, but you can't have a private beach. So the nice thing about the way they've developed a lot of these resorts is they have to put an access pathway into the beach. So Nikki and I were at a place just outside of Cabo San Lucas the other day for breakfast, and we noticed people carrying surfboards down to come through. And right down the center of it was an access path. You could park your car at the top, bring your surfboard down. There were washrooms there and everything, showers, and there's a little booth there that the local people man to make sure that people understand what the safety risks are, etc. But it's all beautiful because it's all been properly developed with proper access, which is fabulous because you can go down to a beach and you can actually walk right in front of where all the people are. Right in front of our place, there's a little access to the beach, and the stars all stay in that particular place. So it's lovely. If we look a little bit at San Jose del Cabo, this is the older town. This is the kind of the genteel town. This is the Norwegian compared to the Carnival cruises, right? So if you think about this is the municipality, the municipal building. It's right in the center. It dates from somewhere in the late 1800s. And this is where you pay your taxes. You can actually go in there, right through there. There's a little atrium inside. It's lovely. You can pay your taxes for your municipal taxes. And I'll just tell you what my municipal taxes were this year. It was $225 for the entire year. So think about that when you go and pay your taxes in wherever you live. The place is absolutely gorgeous. It's old buildings, old location. There's an art walk every Thursday. There's a public market, like a farmer's market, on a Saturday morning. They shut down the streets. It's an absolute delight. And you can go along on a Thursday night and you can eat. You can pay $150 for dinner, or you can pay $6 for dinner from a little taco place in the plaza. It's absolutely delightful. If we go to the other end, which is Cabo San Lucas, where the arch is, this is the old, what Cabo San Lucas looked like. And this is not that long ago. This is 1989. Whereas Squid Row looks like this now. Welcome to Carnival Cruises in Los Cabos, okay? It's very much a party town. This is just one of the areas where the young people went. Our son loves to go down there. And they have all kinds of nightlife. It's bustling. It's really vibrant. There's lots of great places to eat, but it also stays open until 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. One of the famous places in downtown is Cabo Wabo. Sammy Hagar, who was a Van Halen singer, probably he used to sing for Van Halen, but he actually sang the song Cabo Wabo, and he actually owns the Cabo Wabo Cantina in downtown San Lucas. So it's a very vibrant place. You can buy anything you want, as Richard said this morning, but the whole place is very well put together, lots of nice places, and this is the access. But just remember, the roots of Los Cabos came from this little cannery right here, which was then developed as you go. And I can tell you, you actually can find the arch, and that's my family and I. And if you're going in a glass bottom boat, why don't you go in a glass boat? You can see here, you can see right through the boat, the whole boat. So when you look down, you see all the fish and whatever else it is. And the captain usually brings a big lot of tortillas along, and he throws some tortillas into the water and the fish come in. So you can see. It's beautiful. And I should just say that right now, this is what it looks like. The storms have moved the sand around, and you can actually walk through the arch. It's very difficult to get there. It's dangerous. It's not recommended, etc., etc. But you can actually walk through the arch, as opposed to what you can see here, where you need the boat, and you can't even get the boat through the arch. So, very, very beautiful spot. So, what's the future for Los Cabos? It was built, it's now a luxury spot. I believe it's now getting to be called Millionaire's Playground or something like that. It's got great hotels, it's got fabulous golf courses. It's come from 14,000 people to 350,000 people. The thing that has to come along with all of this development, and that's the view from my place, by the way, just in case you want to know. What comes with all this development is the need for the infrastructure to catch up. You've got 350,000 people. They all need air conditioning. Air conditioning needs electricity. You need electrical grid. You need to upgrade the water system, etc. A lot of those golf courses that I spoke about are watered with water from the hotels. So the hotels have to put in their own treatment system, sewage treatment system. That water then gets pumped back up the hill behind them, and then there's an irrigation system with pumps that takes that water from the hotels and reuses it to water the golf course. Sometimes it can be a little difficult, shall we say, but it really does need to develop, and it needs to develop well, but you've got to build the infrastructure along with it. I wanted to give you a little bit more of a broader look at the tip of the Baja California Sur. This is a town about an hour and a half's drive from Los Cabos. It's called El Triunfo. It's a mining town. Interesting, it's a mining town. It was established as a mining town in the 1700s. How people find this stuff, I have no idea. But in the 1700s, somebody found out that there was a mine here, and they built a mine. It was owned by the Spanish at the time, and it was kind of on and off from the 1700s for about 150 years, until it was transferred to the British in 1878. And one of the things that happened here was, after the people couldn't make any money at the gold rush in California, they all decided that they would come and work in El Triunfo. Not all of them, but many of them participated. They left the gold rush in the 1850s and came down to El Triunfo to work. And these are the British. The British took over in about 1878. El Progreso Mining Company. It was successful. There are about 10,000 miners here working. I know there were 300,000 went into the gold rush. 10,000 of them ended up here, and these are the graves of some of the people who died. Some natural causes, some from operational stuff. El Triunfo at the time, remember we're talking about the 1800s now, late 1800s, early 1900s. It was the first town to install electricity, telephones. They brought pianos down here. It was a hopping town, 10,000 people. But the mines shut down in 1926, and as with most mining things, everybody left. This smokestack was built 47 meters. It was built in 1890. It's called La Ramona, after Saint Raimundo, because it was actually finished on Saint Raimundo's day. How am I doing for time? I got a few more minutes. So about 100 years, they left this. It was recently repaired as an archaeological, industrial archaeological site. And El Triunfo itself has turned out into be an absolutely delightful place to visit. It's got cobble streets, it's got little places that are now restaurants, it's got a few museums, that sort of thing. It's a lovely place to spend a day. 2010, El Triunfo had 327 inhabitants. It's got a few more now. So it's attracting tourists. Tourists are coming into Los Cabos, and one of the tours is up to El Triunfo. And it's a lovely place to visit. So with that, I'll leave you and say thank you for joining me. I'm very sad that we cannot get into here because as part of my home, I would love to be able to share it with you. But it's been a pleasure just to share a little bit of the history from a tuna packing plant to a tourist haven from today. Thank you very much. And I'll take any questions if there are any. I know there's bingo coming up or there's something coming up, so we can't stay around, hang around too long. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to. Yes, sir. The drinking water source in Los Cabos